Good afternoon. I'm David Steffler. I'm the President and Chief Executive Officer of the Springfield Daily Citizen. We welcome you all to our forum this afternoon talking about Springfield Public Schools and about the topic of choosing schools and how parents here in Springfield make different decisions that suit their needs and interests and the needs and interests of their children. I do feel like we're also running a series this week on reflecting on the pandemic. I feel like there's a little social distancing going on here and the way the chairs are set up. So, feel free if you really want to get closer together. It's okay. I think hopefully we're past the need for that. As I hope all of you know, we've run a series of stories here earlier this month focusing on the topic of schools in Springfield and trying to help people understand better the choices that parents make and why they make them for where their children go to school. And what we wanted to do with this event was have some of the people who were the focus of those stories be here to be able to say in their own words, as opposed to the words that are filtered by the reporters and editors, but for you to be able to hear from them directly about their thoughts about this topic. So for the first 40 minutes or so here, we're going to be hearing from people involved in the series and who are or school district administrators. And then we're going to take a very, very short break, literally just long enough for people to change seats and have the candidates for school board. All four have agreed to be here today to share their thoughts about choice programs within the school district, as well as the broader sort of public policy issues involved in the topic that we've written about. I do want to take a minute to introduce a couple of key people here who were involved in the series. First of all, reporter Joe Hadsell, who is over here on the left. And hiding in the back now is photographer Shannon Kay. She's actually working today, taking photos. Joe is actually just here as an observer today. He's taken the day off. So we want to especially thank our friends at the E-Factory for hosting us here today. We appreciate that very much. We have a great relationship with those folks. And I'm going to introduce the panel, and then we're going to get started. So first of all, what we have here on the panel, Jackie Maes is the Chief Learning Officer at the Discovery School. She's been with the school since its inception, and the individualized instruction offered at the school is important to Jackie because her children also attend the Discovery School. Becki Uccello is a retired public school teacher, right? And whose daughter Izzy is a student at St. Agnes, and Izzy joined us here today too. They didn't choose the school due to religion, as many might assume. It was on the recommendation of other parents of special needs children. Rebecca Dula is a homeschool parent and an advocate. She and her husband Dan, who's also here, began homeschooling their daughter Claire at third grade after repeated surgery as a child slowed her progress through second grade. They decided that same year to have their older son Alex also study at home. And finally with us today, we really appreciate Katie Kensinger. Katie is the Director of College and Career Readiness for the Springfield Public Schools. In her role at SPS, Dr. Kensinger supports the career and technical education programs in agriculture, engineering, health sciences, technology, education, and business, plus a number of the choice and specialized programs like GoCaps, Fly SPS, and the Alliance for Healthcare Education. So if you don't mind, first welcome the panel. We're going to get started and move through essentially in the order that the series was published. The first story was an overview of the story that provided kind of the big picture, and then the second story focused on private schools. So Jackie, tell us kind of what drew you to the Discovery School to start with, and how now as Chief Learning Officer, how you aim to provide students and their parents with a top-notch educational option.
I think I turned it on. Okay, well, thank you guys so much for inviting me. I just want to say hi to all my friends in the room. I know so many of you. It's so great to see you. I'm actually co-founder of Discovery School, and I have 4 children who all test in the gifted IQ range. I have a master's degree in gifted education, And we have tried all kinds of different schooling for our children. We've tried public school, we've tried homeschool, we've tried blended learning models, and we've found that an individualized approach to each of their learning is the most important thing, because most of our kids are twice exceptional, which means they have a gifted IQ with a learning difference. And I have a blended family, so my husband gave me 4 more children. So out of the 8, 6 of them are twice exceptional, meaning they have gifted IQ with a learning difference. And so the traditional model was really hard for my kids. They could learn really fast in some subjects, and then they needed more time in other subjects. And that was really difficult, being in a class of 27 children where they really didn't get that individualized attention. And so I don't know if any of you know what the Discovery Center did during COVID. How many of you lived here 5 years ago? And I know that your next panel is about COVID, so I will leave the COVID talk to that panel. But what we did during that time is we actually decommissioned our science center, and in 5 days we became a fully licensed childcare center for healthcare workers and first responders during COVID. And what we found when we did that is that the kids can't read. And then when we began to learn the percentages of students in our community who were proficient in reading and math, it really scared us. It was shocking. And we had 6th graders on 3rd grade math level who thought that they were stupid, who thought that they couldn't do math, when really, if we just took 10 minutes to focus on 3rd grade math skills, they got real good. And then they would leave us ahead. And so we got to try on this dream that I've had for 15 years when I was getting my master's degree of, if you do what's best for gifted kids, it helps all the kids. But it's really hard to individualize the instruction when you have 30 students. It's hard for teachers to teach with the class sizes that we have right now. And class size isn't the main thing. There's all kinds of research that says class size doesn't matter. But what does matter is individualizing the education based on the student's ability, their readiness, and their interest. If math is hard for a student and they're really into Hot Wheels, and you make the math about Hot Wheels, it's more fun, and they begin to love learning again. So at the Discovery School, we don't do grades or grade levels. We don't do tests. We do 1 standardized test a year, which is required for accreditation. But we do not do grades or grade levels. We put kids in groups of 10, and we teach them based on their ability. And do you know what? They start loving learning again. And the teachers love it because the teachers get to teach. And the parents love it because the parents know their kids love learning again. And their kids start closing those academic achievement gaps that all the kids are coming in with. Most of the kids that come into our program are about 2 grade levels behind. Not all of them, but a lot of them. And so it's been really fun to see the kids that learn fast get to go quick. We have kind of a problem because some of our 7th graders just finished Algebra 2. What do we do now? Like, how far do we want to accelerate them? But I think the most respectful thing you can do for a child is teach them what they're ready to learn regardless of their age.
Becki, as a teacher yourself, how did you make the transition to having your child at St. Agnes Cathedral School, and why did you feel like this was the best option for Izzy?
Thank you, and thank you for being here today. For me, as a public school teacher, I had always assumed that public school would fit everybody all the time. And our son, who is 6 years older than Izzy, we actually transferred him. I taught at Ozark, and we transferred him from Springfield to Ozark because of the JROTC program. And so we kind of had that choice because I was a teacher. When Izzy started kindergarten in Springfield, I figured that I knew all the tips and tricks for special education. We knew that being in the early intervention program, we knew she had some learning challenges, and I just figured, you know what, we'll conquer them because I'm in the system. I know how the system works, and it'll be fine. And the first parent-teacher conference we had in October, the teacher said in her out loud voice, you know your child is an academic failure, correct? And I was stunned. I still am stunned, and she's now in 8th grade, and I still am at a loss for words sometimes that a teacher would say this out loud. And we had not been informed of anything in particular prior to this. And like I said, she was in the early intervention program in that same building, so we knew there were challenges. And we brought our concerns to the team, to the teachers, to the administration. Her playground was not accessible, so she was forced to stay on the sidewalk and play with beanbag toys. She was pulled out for PE to be by herself with the adapted PE coach. And these were not things that we had agreed to. And I was a little confused why the communication was not as good as I thought it should be. And so after having probably a meeting every month with everybody and nothing was working, nothing was being addressed. Everything was, well, we can put the playground in the 5-year plan. Well, the building she was in was a K-4 building. So 5 years, she's going to be gone anyway into a new building. And I was worried about her academics, but I was also worried about her inclusion. She couldn't pull up to the cafeteria table to eat with her friends. She couldn't play on the playground. And if you have children, you know how important those kindergarten connections are. And that's what wasn't being addressed. And we had a friend who at the time was the principal at St. Agnes. And I had told her about my concerns with this whole kindergarten experience. And she said, Becki, we have an opening in kindergarten. And that was the other thing. We had asked for her to be retained in kindergarten, and we were told that was impossible because she has an individualized education plan. I'm like, she hasn't mastered half the skills. And they said, no, we'll catch her up. And that's when I looked across the table and I said, I have taught junior high for almost 20 years. They do not catch up. And they said, we're sorry, but that's what we can offer you. And so I had talked to the principal at the time of St. Agnes, and she said, we have an opening in kindergarten if you want to put her in kindergarten. And I said, we're not Catholic. And she said, it doesn't matter. And it's true. Like, they have, the St. Agnes community has completely embraced our family. Within a day of our enrolling Izzy, the maintenance guy built a ramp for her to get onto the playground. And that, I knew then we had made the right decision. And she has blossomed, and she is social. She's on student council, and she was on the cheerleading squad. And these are opportunities that may not have presented themselves in other school situations. But because the school is small, her class is 20 students, and there's one grade per, or there's one class per grade, they are able to accommodate her, not just because she's in a wheelchair, not because she has learning challenges, but because they view her as an image bearer of God. And I understand that not every school can take on that statement. That's a pretty big statement, but for our family, it's what worked. And I can tell you, as a junior high teacher, my classes started, the roster started at 32 students. And I know that the data says, you know, oh, class size doesn't matter. But when it comes to individual children, it does matter, because we cannot accommodate and modify everything for a class of 32 times 7 classes. So I knew there were issues in a public school setting before I had children, but they became more real when I had children and realized not every school situation fits every child.
Thank you. Rebecca, you've become an advocate for homeschooling. Talk more about how you came to the decision that it was a good fit for your children and why others might want to consider the option.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to reiterate basically what Jackie and Becki have both said. it is all about individualized learning. In 2025, I think we need to realize that each student needs what works for them, and that's basically why we started homeschooling. My kids have both, I should say, both my kids have graduated now. My son graduated from me in 2021, and my daughter Claire graduated last year in 2024. So I'm an advocate, but I'm not right now currently a homeschool mom. But once you're a homeschool mom, I think you're for life. I will never forget that experience. Basically, what I told Joe in the article and what I'll reiterate a little bit is my daughter had a series of surgeries. Her biggest one was when she was in second grade. She had both of her femurs broken on purpose and rotated, and so she needed to be out of school for about a month. During that time, they send what's called a homebound teacher to your house, which just happened to be her retired special ed teacher. So once a week for an hour, her homebound teacher would come and sit at the kitchen table with her and work with her. We saw more progress during that month while she was sitting at the table with that SPED teacher than we had seen in years. She was getting that dedicated focus, which nothing's wrong with public school in terms of, other kids, but my daughter, she was going just like Izzy, she was going to PE by herself. She was only spending 38% of her time in her actual classroom because she has, I didn't tell you guys, but she has intellectual disabilities and cerebral palsy. So she's got the physical issues and mental issues as well in terms of education. So my husband and I just looked at each other, and I was the PTA president at the time. So I went to my principal and talked to her and said, look, this homebound thing is amazing. And we noticed that she's really interacting, and, I want to homeschool her because that just seems like the best fit. And the principal agreed that she thought that would be the best fit for Claire, would be one-on-one education, which I had the ability to do because I was already not working. So that way I could take care of Claire after school because she couldn't do the YMCA program. So I was able to do that. I was able to pull her out, and we started in third grade homeschooling her. Her therapists loved it because they were able to work with me, and I was able to incorporate her therapy into her schooling. So my son, he went K through fifth grade to public school. In that time, we found out he had anxiety, he had epilepsy, and he had autism. So he started sixth grade at Pipkin. And we thought that was a good fit for him because it's an IB program. He went to Wings. He's also a gifted student. Wings didn't work out because he was having other issues. So he started Pipkin. A month into going to Pipkin, he started getting bullied because he doesn't quite get sarcasm, and some of the kids were being not so nice. He had his gym clothes stolen right off the bat. So at the time, we had found a homeschool co-op for kids with special needs. This was an amazing co-op. We got together for field trips. We would do social things like that. And so he had made some friends with the boys who were in that co-op. So he was going to public school during the week, getting picked on and things like that. And then on the weekends, he would see his friends in the co-op. And it just didn't make any sense. I was like, I'm home with Claire. He can come home, be with his friends whenever we have co-op events. And he can go as fast as he wants online with his schooling. There's a lot of available online programs, Khan Academy, especially after COVID. A lot of those online programs stepped it up immensely because they knew they had people at home looking for educational opportunities. So, I mean, the boy finished his high school career finishing out trigonometry all on his own, all online. So he loved the online. Now, to say individualized, that's Alex. With Claire, I had to sit at the kitchen table and work one-on-one with her with worksheets, and we did some online programming. We did YouTube videos. We did a lot of unit studies, because if I had done the same thing with her that I did to Alex, I always tell people she would have emailed China and bought diamonds from Peru. I mean, she would have just The computer was not her thing. I mean, the iPad, she loved doing the iPad. We did Reading Eggs, Math Seeds, some of these other online programs, things like that, which were great. But she needed more hands-on. So even in our own home, we had two very different learning opportunities. We had one who he could get on the computer. He loved 3D printing. We bought him a 3D printer. He loved coding. I mean, he took off in terms of computer skills. Whereas my daughter, it took her 2 years to learn her days of the week. But I was able to sit there with her for 2 years and we just went over it and over it. Public school would have given up by then and would have just, her IEP would have, we did the same thing with Claire with kindergarten. They told us we couldn't hold her back because she had an IEP. So I don't want to sit up here and say public school is bad because it's not. I work for Ozark Literacy Council now. We work directly with the Springfield public school system, getting books into the hands of kids. Some kids thrive in that environment. It's all about individual academics and what works best for your kid and being your kid's best advocate. Homeschooling may not work for you, and I'm not going to tell you to homeschool if that's not something you want to do, but it worked for us. I loved it. I saw a different side of my kids that I don't think I would have saw had they gone to public school through high school, but that's our family, and that's what that's what I loved about it, so thank you.
Thank you. Katie, obviously, we're not trying to get you to respond to all of these individual systems, circumstances, but let's talk more philosophically about the district and its priorities, trying to emphasize the wide variety of educational opportunities that are offered within the Springfield Public Schools, including the strength of the regular schools, if you will, as well as the alternative and choice programs available. When you talk to parents, when you try to help folks figure out what's the best thing for them, why do you advocate for the school district as the right choice for the vast majority of parents? And what steps do you feel like the district is taking to continue to improve its offerings?
Thank you. Through the process of developing the strategic plan that Springfield Public Schools has right now that occurred just a few years ago, there was a clear understanding of what some of the strengths of the districts are and what some of the areas of improvement are. And a lot of that work went straight back to choice and the experiences and the opportunities that students get when they are part of Springfield Public Schools. And so with that, choice programs in the district, they go back to the early 1990s with the start of International Baccalaureate program. And what we really think of, or most people think of when they hear choice, is our magnet schools. And those started in 2006. And so the opportunity for students to individualize their education, to go to a site that focuses on ag and experience English and math and science and social studies through the lens of ag is a way for students to really tap into their passions and the things that they like, a way for them to really be engaged, to want to show up at school every day, to want to do the learning. And so we find that in the choice programs, we are offering that opportunity for students to personalize their experiences. Outside of some of our choice programs, we also have really great and rich experiences in our buildings. I personally oversee more of the secondary side. Career and technical education is a strong suit that is preparing our students for the workforce. And so in our middle schools and high schools across the district, we offer agriculture, business, personal finance. We added 2 new family and consumer science programs this year due to student interest. So we now have that program at Hickory Hills as well as at Carver. And in those classes, we have 6th, 7th, and 8th graders learning how to interact with one another. They're focusing on interpersonal relationships. They are learning how to read a recipe so that they can prepare food now at home and so they can do that in their future. So we're really, really focusing on how do we develop good people, and that is seen throughout our system. But when we talk about choice programs, students have the opportunity to really explore those things through a lens that they might already have a knack for, an interest for. As we get into the secondary component a little bit more, we also like to think about the idea that students can decide what they don't like. So if they want to be in GoCaps in the business and entrepreneurship strand, which is here at the E-Factory every day for students, if they think that marketing is what they'd like to do, let's try that out right now. When you're a junior in high school, we'll get you a bunch of content. We're going to teach you how to use Microsoft Office, Word, and Excel, and all of that. We're also going to pair you with an industry partner so that you can get out into the community. What would it be like to develop a marketing plan for a business? What would it be like to help prepare a new web page and share out a story for a business? And if you don't like that, you experienced that in high school, and now you can switch. Now you can switch your path before you decide what you're going to take senior year, before you decide what you might enter the workforce for, go to a 4-year university for. We provide those opportunities and experiences for students to explore. And yes, we do have really great things that happen on a specialized site, but we also have amazing things happening in our buildings across the district that a student might just live in that boundary, and that's why they go there. So we really want to make sure that we are personalizing learning for students. We are engaging them in content that they are interested in, and they want to come back to school and they want to show up and they want to learn, and we have those experiences across the district, grades preschool to senior year.
Thanks. We're going to probably have time for at least one question again for everybody on the panel, and then we'll see if there are any specific questions in the audience. But we'll start again here, Jackie, with you. Obviously, you understand paying tuition is not an option for many families. A lot of families won't have the opportunity to be able to homeschool their child. So try to talk more philosophically, if you will. If you're talking to parents, what advice do you have for them as they evaluate the options that might be best for their children?
Okay. Well, I will tell you that no one's given me $8,000 if free works. So if free is working for their child, they're not coming to us for help. And I wish we didn't have to charge tuition. That is my least favorite part of my job. I have moms that call and beg me almost every day, do you have scholarships available? Do you have scholarships available? And we have had a limited number of scholarships available due to some very generous philanthropists that live across the country that believe in our mission and what we're doing and see us as an innovator in the space of education nationally. I think it's important for the community to note, I will be honest with you, I am so thankful for the choices that SPS has. I had a front row seat to the Academy of Exploration when they were at the Discovery Center. My son Ross did the Health Science Academy at Mercy. It was amazing for him. And my son Luke, who's 15 and on the spectrum, is doing the IB program at Central right now. We need those programs. They're amazing. But I think it's important to note that school choice is not legal in Springfield. It's available in, charter schools are legal in St. Louis. They're legal in Columbia and they're legal in Kansas City, but they're not legal in Springfield. So I think we have this illusion that there's choices, but really we have a lottery where we have hundreds of families that want to get in that can't. And I totally agree with what Dr. Hackenworth said in the part 5 of the article, that those students want to come even when they're sick. It works. When you individualize the education to the unique interests of the child, they want to come to school. And there's no reason we can't replicate that in all the classrooms across the district. And so I think we have a budgeting problem. I think it's not fair that the kids that have been kicked out of a traditional school that come to us have to pay tuition. I think that's wrong. We have limited scholarships now through the Missouri Scholars Program, but that is a program that's a $75 million piece of the pie that covers the whole state, when the budget for SPS is $500 million. It's a drop in the bucket. So we're starting to have some choices for families, but we have a long way to go. And I think, you know, Rebecca's right. Like, there's not a school that exists that's going to serve the needs of every child. It just doesn't. If anyone that tells you that, like, we just have so much room to grow. And I'm happy to collaborate with anybody who would like to talk about best practices of how to increase student engagement and increase student academic achievement. The fact that 1 in 5 of our students in low income districts, only 1 in 5 are proficient in reading. The fact that that's not freaking all of us out, like that should really concern us as a community. We're not gonna be able to staff a well-qualified workforce for Missouri at the current rate. So we have to do something. So whatever we can do to work together to increase these options that are available to kids within the district and beyond, I think that's the way. Like, I think the future of education is in treating kids as individuals.
Just to echo what Jackie said, the Missouri Scholars Program is now 75 million, or hopefully will be $75 million. We have been able to take advantage of that because Izzy has an IEP, and that's available only for students with IEPs and 504 plans, as well as a certain financial threshold. But to be able to serve, or to be able to allow any student in the state to access any education that is appropriate for them, it would just be, that would be a dream come true. Because whether it's me working in the classroom with 7th and 8th graders, or my daughter accessing the education that she needs to be successful in life, there's just so many opportunities that need to be created for individual students.
Did you want to ask me the same question? Well, right now, and this is a big misnomer, homeschoolers get no money of any kind. We don't get any tax breaks. We don't get, if you're homeschooling your child, it's all you. You can put into it as much or as little as you want. You can buy curriculum that is thousands of dollars, that is basically school at home. You have your kids sit at the table and they do that curriculum. Or you can use my friend Katie, who works at the library center. The librarians love homeschoolers to a certain degree. That is a resource that is free, and most of the time you can ask those librarians about any topic. I know my daughter has. Miss Thompson at the library center, the children's librarian, has been asked many a question, and it gives my daughter the ability to go down the rabbit trail she wants to go down. If she wants to find out about manners, if she wants to find out about Greek mythology, I mean, we don't have access to any money from the state at all. I know some states do provide a certain amount of money per homeschool family. Co-ops can cost money, but there are free co-ops out there, free Facebook groups you can join. Unfortunately, our homeschool co-op that was for special needs kiddos had to disband in 2020 because we had a lot of medically fragile children, and so it had to disband. I did keep a book club with my son and 2 of his friends. But that is a great resource. Missouri, I didn't really talk about it, but Missouri is a state where the homeschool laws are a little lax compared to some states, or not as lax as some other states. Oklahoma, you don't have to report anything. In Missouri, you have to report hours and keep examples of your children's work. We also did, I didn't mention it before, but my son did dual enroll at OTC when he turned 16, which we loved because it was half the tuition and he got access to college classes. So that was a great opportunity for him to do that and keep up with his academics. So yeah, hopefully that answers.
Yeah, Katie, just to remind you, the question really is kind of what advice do you have for parents as they consider the options?
Explore. You have to get out there and explore and see what is available. Sometimes when I think about what we offer in the district, it's a lot. It's a lot for someone to take in and understand. We have a lot of really good resources on our district webpage, and I would encourage you to go to that at sps.org/choice, and you can see a lot of these programs, both that are their own schools as well as programs within schools. We have a lot of really great opportunities in the community. that we would encourage you to attend. So if you were to attend an SPS university, you can come and hear about launch virtual learning and hear that your student could do school fully online if that's the best fit for them. And they would have access to courses that are developed by certified Missouri teachers that they can do at home, on the road, at their own pace. If you were to attend, you would hear about the Fly SPS program and that we have some students who just earned their private pilot license. And you'd hear the process for how can I be part of that? What classes should I take that maybe would prepare me for that? What do I need to do to prepare to sit down for an interview that would explore what Fly SPS would look like for me? We have a really great program called SPS Ambassadors where you can come and I might be wrong on this. I think it's 4 Saturdays a year where you get to take a tour of all of the opportunities that are available within the district. That would be a really great way to engage. We also host expos. So every October, it kind of depends on what day of the week Halloween falls on and when we schedule it. But we have expos where you can come and learn about all of the elementary choice programs and you can come hear about all of these secondary options. We'll stand up at the front of the room and we'll give you the 5,000, 500,000 foot overview of each program, and then you go sit in a classroom and hear all the details about those. I would also ask that you lean in on counselors and that you have students who can lean in on building counselors to hear about the options and opportunities available for students as well. So they are resources at every site and they can help to explore, you know, it's never too early to start thinking about what classes should my elementary student take in high school, what classes in high school are going to prepare my student for the workforce immediately, or what classes do I need to take in order to actually be able to go to Mizzou, because now I know I have to have 2 world language classes, even though the state of Missouri doesn't require that. So you've got to be able to engage with your student and their building to learn more, and then attend the events that we put on where we like to talk about all of the opportunities so that we can share that information with you. I would also just say, ask your student what they think they might want to do. You know, we have so many options, again, within their buildings and then all of the choice programs as well. But what are their interests? And then where might that land them as far as opportunities within a specialized program or anything of that sort? So we have options and we really try and showcase them, but it is a lot. So what could we do to help you explore more? That's a question that we ask, I think, monthly. How can we make sure that we're sharing all this information with the community? But please, the things that we do have, read about them, read the articles that are on sps.org. We're highlighting so many great opportunities and successes of students and teachers, and that would really be a great starting point to start exploring what opportunities your student would have in the district.
So we might have time for 1 or 2 quick questions. I'm going to actually play, I don't know, the Bob Barker that takes the microphone, or who takes the microphone?
Hi, my name's Robbie Pope. I'm a product of Springfield Public Schools. My mother taught school here for 26 years. I'm also a graduate of MSU in '79 and then have other postgraduate work there as well. But listening to a couple of different repeated statements, I find fallacy. And that is the first statement, the data says class size doesn't matter. What data are you specifically speaking about? Because when I was in school in the 60s and the 70s, we did talk about class size there. My mother was a learning disability specialist. She graduated from Missouri State. And she also has she also had 3 more degrees. Class size has always been in discussion there. And what I think you're doing is promoting a propaganda line to help other people come involved with you or accept what your standard is. And in regards to this standard, we always have talked about classroom size because my mother graduated from 1-room schoolhouses. And it was the 2nd grader helping the kindergartner with learning how to tie his shoes. It was the 5th grader that was coming back and working with the 3rd grader on the reading skills because we taught how we learned and migrated there. And what I do hear from you is that if we could be a proponents of a classroom size of 1 to 10, 1 to 14, as it is in Europe, we would have more success. But I do not accept the fallacy statement that the data says class size doesn't matter.
No,
Because it can't
I'll
be.
speak to that one because I opened that can of worms. So yeah, so at Discovery School, our class limit is 10. And that starts at 3 years old and goes all the way up through our high schoolers that we serve. We serve 10 in a group. And so the data, I'm happy to provide you with specific research, but there is some data that says a smaller class doesn't necessarily lead to higher academic outcomes. What I see from an anecdotal point of view is it makes all the difference in the world, because what we can address is when kids are rude to each other, we can stop it because we notice it, and we can kids can't learn when they're getting bullied. When there's a student who's dysregulated, that's throwing a chair in a class, the rest of the kids will have an academic decline because you can't learn if you don't feel safe. So I have seen in our class sizes the academic achievement go way up. So the kids that we accept that are coming in at 2 grade levels behind, it usually takes a year to catch them up where they're averaging 1.5 grade levels ahead after 1 year at Discovery School. And I can show you that data too. But yeah. Mm-hmm. So I didn't bring student test scores with me, but I have that if you want to see them. Yeah. Yeah, so we collect data on all of our students. So I collect data before we even admit the child on what grade level standards they currently have mastered. So yeah.
It, I think we want to, yeah. No, I'm sorry, but this is, yeah. We're we're gonna run out of time here. Excuse me, ma'am, but I think they understand the question. You've given her an opportunity to respond to the question, and we're going
And
to have
happy
to
to
close.
talk more with anyone when
Yeah.
we have more time, for sure.
We have to close out this part of the session because we're going to move on to the second part where we're going to hear from the school board candidates. But if you would please give a round of applause to our panelists here. So don't go away. We're going to ask the school board candidates to come forward, and we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. I do want to mention, if you need a restroom, there's a couple of special issues. One is all the restrooms are on the first floor, and the women's restroom happens to be closed right now. So if you need to use the women's restroom, you need to take the elevator, and you need to go to 2R on the elevator. So that's going to exit on the rear, and that's going to take you into the staff area. You walk down the hallway and then turn left when you get to the green panel. So again, I apologize for that.
I brought a bottle. It's not standing too tall, but that's wrong.
I'm good, thank you. If we get to the open mic stuff, I can't see it.
Yes, I saw it in the. Yeah, I said I saw the Zoom window.
Yeah.
I assume it's that camera in the back.
It's not being live streamed, it's recording it through Zoom. Yeah. It looks like there's going to be plenty of cookies left over there if you want to grab a cookie before we get started. Yeah, I don't know if those microphones are on already or not. You just push up to get it on. So
Turn them off and on.
I don't think it matters. They seem to be pretty. We're just waiting for Dave to come back. So then we'll get started. Just while we're waiting, just out of curiosity, show of hands of people who are parents in the Springfield Public Schools or whose children used to attend the Springfield Public Schools. Okay. Well, sure. Yeah. Just thought it might be interesting for you all to see. The elevator's coming, so I've got a feeling that's Dave.
You don't have to do the turn off, turn on. I already tested the reverb situation, so we shouldn't have any wah-wahs.
Okay, so again, thank you all for being here this afternoon. I'm David Steffler, Springfield Daily Citizen, President and CEO. We're pleased to have with us the 4 candidates who are competing for 2 seats on the Springfield Public Schools Board of Education. The election is April 8th, and I think they're in the throes of candidate forums right now, so they're getting used to spending time with each other. I'm going to introduce the candidates to you in ballot order, and then we're going to get started with the discussion. We will end at 5:30 because I want to respect everybody's time. So I'm counting on the candidates. I told them that I'm counting on them to not filibuster, but at the same time, I'm not putting a clock on their answers, so they can take the time that they want to answer the questions. In ballot order, Sarah Hough is a senior manager for community engagement at the Bass Pro Shops. Kelly Byrne is a real estate investor and developer, and he's seeking re-election to a 2nd term on the board. Gail Smart is a lawyer by training who has served in roles as a volunteer and board member for several charitable organizations in Springfield. And finally, Dave Myers is an aircraft paint technician with Ozarks Aero Works and a staff sergeant with the Missouri National Guard. So first of all, a round of applause for the candidates. To start, and we're going to just go down the in order. So Sarah, you'll be first. I'm wondering if each of you would just talk about your view of the choice programs within the school district specifically. What do you see as the strengths of the choice programs? And going forward, should the district look to expand those choice or magnet type programs, or should it be looking to focus budgets on the mainstream schools, especially given the circumstances with tighter budgets on the way? So Sarah, you get to start.
Sure. Well, thank you, Dave and the Daily Citizen for hosting this. I told Dave this is probably one of the most interesting conversations that we've gotten to have as school board candidates. And, I think I do want to just clarify for the crowd, when we talk about school choice, that means different things to different people. Kind of in the larger national conversation, that conversation is more about programs and policies that allow public money to be used for private schools through voucher programs or open enrollment. We're not talking about that today, unless we are talking about that today, he'll tell me. But so we're really talking about choice programs within Springfield Public Schools. And I am a parent of 2 kids in Springfield Public Schools. My kids actually started, or my oldest kid actually started outside of SPS. And we actually moved to Springfield so he could take part in a choice program. We chose to live in Brentwood. I chose to live in Brentwood so he could be a part of the IB program at Field Elementary. So I certainly think that choice programs are an asset to our district. I will tell you that as a parent, that was an intentional choice for me. My kid excels in math. He has since he was in kindergarten. His teachers have been very intentional about giving him opportunities to learn and excel in that space. He's in 5th grade right now. He's finished the 5th grade math, and his teachers have challenged him to move into 6th grade math and beyond. So he's certainly getting that attention and challenge that he needs. And I know that as parents, we want that for all of our kids. And so, some of the strengths, some of the strengths that I think our choice programs offer. You mentioned I work at the Bass Pro Shops. I like how you said that. The Bass Pro Shops. We have a great partnership with the Wolf School. And as we, I don't know the year that program specifically was started, but one of the things I think about choice programs, it does give the school district the opportunity to partner with private investment. We fund a lot of the Wolf School. The facility is funded by Bass Pro Shops. The custodial services is funded by Bass Pro Shops. There are a lot of things within that program that are funded by private investment, which I think is a huge thing for choice programs, right? We're able to offer that because we have businesses or philanthropists in the community coming forward and saying, hey, we believe in this, and so we're going to invest in it. The same thing with the ag program at Dar Educational Center. There was a huge private investment in that program. So those programs certainly give us the opportunity to pursue private funding to support educational opportunities for kids. Huge strength. It provides our students opportunities to explore their areas of interest. I mentioned my oldest loves math. We were talking about school today, and both my kids love math, which would make my dad very proud because he was a math teacher. But they can explore those areas of interest. William, my oldest, is going to Scholars next year, and largely because he's very interested in math and pursuing that program. And so it allows kids to say, I'm interested in animals. I want to go to the Wolf School. I'm interested in agriculture. I want to pursue a year at Ag Academy. I'm interested in STEM learning or coding. I want to go to the Academy of Exploration. I'm interested in healthcare. I want to do this, and try that out. And frankly, as a student who graduated from an exceptional public school, I didn't leave with all of those opportunities in my mind of the things that I could do. So I think that's certainly a strength of our choice programs. It also gives our students new experiences. And I got to do the Principal for a Day program with the Chamber last week in partnership with the school district, and got to be at Pipkin Middle School. And one of the things that the principal there said that stuck with me is these kids need experiences. They need to know that there are things outside of what they've experienced in life that they can do. So I think our choice programs do that. It gives our kids access to career pathways. And, I think the other thing is that these choice programs differentiate us from other local schools. I think we have a lot of opportunities that anecdotally, right? I was talking to a family that has kids at Greenwood, and they said, we know a lot of people that keep their kids at Greenwood until middle school, and then they try a choice program in SPS, and then they go to the IB program for Central. It differentiates us from some school options in Springfield and in the surrounding area. So I think it's a key differentiator for us. And I've heard similar sentiments echoed by other parents. You know, I mentioned my son. I have a niece who's at the Judy this year doing performing arts. She loves it. She's getting to explore her interest in performance and public speaking and singing, and she's thriving in that area. So I think we have to continue to invest in those programs that are pushing our kids forward and giving them new opportunities. Second part of that question, I know I'm trying to be fast. Should we be looking to expand or contract these options going forward due to budget constraints? Certainly, I think we have to look at the ROI on things, right? We can't have every choice program under the sun. We have to look at the ROI. What is the investment? Are we, you know, does this cost too much in the budget? We're going to have to make tough budget decisions. But I do think that these programs are worth preserving and expanding as we see opportunities in the community. So that's where I'll wrap that up.
So I could probably talk about this a lot. I want to be respectful of the time. So would you repeat the question to make sure I stay on topic here?
You see as the strength
Yeah.
of the SPS choice programs and going forward, should the district look to expand or contract?
So I feel like I have a unique perspective in this. I'm a current board member. Of the current board members, I'm the only SPS parent on the board. I know Sarah and David both have children as candidates that are in the school district. Beyond that, so I have two children. Both of them have attended Disney Elementary. My daughter went to the Choice Program, Academy of Exploration. My daughter's now at Cherokee and has participated in some other programming choice type stuff that is more on a I don't know, limited basis. My son, we actually moved this year to New Covenant Academy. I also went to New Covenant, Cherokee, and Kickapoo. And then as also being a parent and having a lot of friends and all the sports and things that our kids are involved in, a lot of our friends and parents of our children's friends attend just a broad variety from Greenwood to New Covenant to the Catholic schools to various Springfield public schools, Nixa Republic, all of it, right? So I feel like I do get a pretty broad perspective on this topic. So I'll start off by saying our experience at Academy of Exploration was fantastic. And really the only downfall of that is that it's limited. I mean, there's only I want to say 120 students that can go there. They expanded it recently. And I think to answer the question, like, what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses? You're kind of in the gray area on this because not everything is that binary. There's good things that happen with it, and there's also challenges. And one of the challenges is, of course, that it's not available to everyone, and that is really concerning with it being a public school option and it being funded by public school dollars. Again, the program that we experienced was so fantastic. My daughter loved it. She didn't want to leave. It really just sparked something inside her in terms of how they just really, I don't know, foster this sort of creativity and problem solving and hands-on learning. And I wish there were more opportunities to do that. The challenge with the public school is you're only going to do that with a limited amount of students. So my daughter initially didn't get accepted when she applied for 5th grade. And it was only because one student dropped out that she was able to get in the next year. So she only attended for 1 year. My son attended or applied, but did not get in. So there's definitely some challenges with the accessibility of it. And also, that location is up near Hillcrest, and we live near Cherokee. So it was a big commitment for us as a family to, and it was also on this is an unpopular topic, but it was also on the first tier starting schedule. So it started school at 7 a.m. And so we had to get her up there that early. I say we, my wife did most of that. So So it is a challenge, and not everyone can participate in that. It's really the families that have the means and the ability to commit to the extra time and resources that it takes. And part of what you see there and some of the success there is that leads into it is, education. There's a lot of ways that a child can be successful in education, and the most important impact in that is the family structure and how it's supported at home. And when you have a family that's willing to, or able and willing to commit the extra time and resources, they're a little bit more aware and invested and promoted at home a little bit more. So it's a different environment. It was a smaller environment, and the teachers are really committed and bought in, and they have, I think, more of a sense of ownership with just the size of it and the less layers of administration. And you have the teachers that are actually teaching the courses are the ones that are serving more in an administrative role also, and making larger decisions. There's more of a sense of ownership in those things. But the worst part about it is the accessibility in my mind, and the added cost, because it does cost more on a per student basis to run those programs. So when you're looking at it as a board member, you have to be aware of that, because we have to, like, the mission of the district is to provide high quality academic opportunities for each student. And resources are limited. So to some degree, if you're spending more money on those choice programs that only certain families can take a part in, then you're taking some resources away from the other 24,000 students in the district. So my stance as a board member on this has been, I'm very proud of our choice programs. I'm glad we have them, and they really do differentiate and prepare SPS for anything that may come in the future. If, statewide choice becomes a reality, I think it positions SPS well, that all the choice programs and launch and the things that we do does position us well to thrive in that environment. But I want to make sure that we're providing. So when we did the strategic plan that was mentioned earlier, it talked about a lot of technical and career training that we should be giving access to our students to. And in my mind, I think it's really important that we provide those opportunities to the greatest extent in their home schools where it's accessible to the students. Just because every kid can't, or every family can't get their kid across town to OTC or to AG or to AOE or any number of those. So as we're investing in those programs, I think we really need to think about each student, which is the mission of the district, and the 24,000 students, and make those things as accessible as we can at their home building where they have transportation provided there. So that it's not just limited to the few hundred students who are able to participate. So my answer in that is that just like anything, it's nuance, and I could sit up here and talk all day about the details, but from the board perspective, I think we need to be very cautious about diverting any funds that also are needed for the rest of the district. And we've kind of reached that time right now because we're in the middle of 4 years of budget reductions where money has been tight. And one example I've spoken to quite a bit is we tried to grow choice again, or we did grow choice again maybe 2 years ago with the addition of the Healthcare Alliance. And from my point of view, it was these challenges that I was thinking about as to why I ultimately voted no on that. Even though I acknowledge it's a good program for those kids that could attend, it was proposed to be another $1 million to the budget to only be able to affect 100 kids. And we knew that we would be laying off teachers. We knew that we were in the middle of it already, that we'd be laying off staff. So that became a timing issue. So I think all of these things are nuanced, and you have to be aware of the timing of them. And right now we're at a time, we can't be laying off teachers and also growing programs that only affect a handful of students, that only the ones with the resources and means actually can access. So I don't know if that actually answered the question, but I guess the answer is it's nuanced. There's good and there's bad.
And thanks for bringing up the healthcare vote, because I was sure it was going to come up at some point. So thank you. Gail, you want to try to address the topic?
Sure. I'm Gail Smart, and I just want to say thank you all for being here today. Thank you for the investment that you make in our schools and our community.
Gail, I'm not sure your mic is on.
Okay, now it is. Again, thank you for being here today in the investment that you all make in our schools and the community. And I just appreciate being here, and I agree with Sarah that this is one of the more interesting topics that we've had to talk about. It's a little something different. Um, I kind of come at, well, I'm for choice programs. I'll put that out there, but uh, I being one of the oldest people well, I am the oldest person on the panel. The choice program that we had, I believe, when our boys were in school, I think we did have the WOW, the Wolf program, and we also had the IB program. And I do remember trying to get our son Jim to go to the IB program, and he didn't want to do that. He wanted to stay with his friends. So it all worked out for him. He got into his college of choice. But anyway, our kids went to Sunshine and Jared and Parkview and had a great experience there. And how exciting to have these choice programs and how lucky we are to have them in our schools. So what a great opportunity to choose, have your child be able to choose, what they want to study and see what they might be interested in. So I think that's exciting. Um, I think one thing that our choice programs show that um, we always talk about in Springfield is how we collaborate. And the choice programs are a partnership between the businesses, between the universities and the public schools. And the businesses and the universities invest in the programs as well. It's not just Springfield Public Schools footing the bill for them. They invest in it as well. Um, so everyone has skin in the game and everybody is working together. I've got friends who um, have kids that are in the choice programs and they love them. I too have a friend whose child is in the theater and arts program, the Judy program, and he's also in the launch program. So he's doing two of them, and that fits for him. I think he's probably going to be on Broadway someday. I have a friend whose son goes to the Ag Academy, and he's excited about going there. And one day she said he came home and let's make some bread because he was learning how to do that at the school. So they are getting to do so many amazing, wonderful things, and they have great opportunities. And I would echo what Kelly said to see what programs we could bring in to each building. Because it is an issue with transportation. I understand that. So maybe that's something we could look at. And again, I just want to emphasize that these businesses and the universities also have skin in the game. They are also footing part of the bill for this. And, also looking at the Alliance for Healthcare. And I will say that I have a little bit of knowledge about how that all began since my husband was in on that at Missouri State University. Um, the students that go to the Healthcare Alliance are paying tuition to OTC, so they pay to do that, like they do to go to the middle college. This is addressing a need that Southwest Missouri has, that our region has. And this is open to juniors and seniors. In high school, they get a credential, they graduate with a credential. They can take that and immediately go into the workforce in a healthcare job, or they can go to OTC, or they can go to MSU or another college and attend their healthcare program. It, Mercy and Cox have hundreds of openings for these healthcare jobs. So these are good jobs, and this is a program that will help kids hopefully stay in Springfield. So I don't know. I understand that this year the cost of the Healthcare Alliance to the school is about $300,000. Not $1 million. And this is going to grow. It's going to grow all around the region. Nixa and Ozark are going to want to be a part of this. Mercy and I think Evangel are looking at doing something similar. So this is a choice program that is going to have so many beneficial things going on in the future. And like I said, I agree with Kelly. If we could, get some parts of these programs into all of our buildings, that would be great. And if individualized learning is the future, then that's what we need to be looking at. So thank you.
Check. All right. When I did this the other day, I blasted everybody out of the room. So I was really glad that that didn't happen this time. My name is David Myers. Right. So I would say, I mean, I'm the last, and so I can say this. I think I'm the most unique candidate up here because of my actual well-rounded experience in life. I am an aviation technician. I've been doing that for about the last 5 years or so. I have a degree in sociology, which does not go along with aviation, and I started out in music education in college. So tell me how any of that makes sense. But I say that to say that if you look back and you remember your childhood, how many things did you want to be? How many different careers did you want to go into by the time you were 5? By the time that you were 10, you might have started whittling them down, but probably not. You probably just expanded them at that point, and you just wanted to do anything and everything under the sun if it was possible, and it didn't matter that we only have 24 hours in the day. I'll sleep when I'm dead, right? That was kind of the philosophy, it seemed like, when you're young and you have everything to look forward to. Choice, I think, I mean, it's perfect that we're in the idea loft. Choice is a really great idea. However, it does obviously come with a lot of challenges. I think one of the challenges is obviously the funding issue. Now, I will say, so I do have a nephew who attended the DAR Ag program, and he loved it. I was a SPS substitute for a year. I actually subbed at DAR Ag Center, and it was the Judy School of Music. That was super fun. I'm just gonna say that was my niche. I got out of the music education program at Missouri State back in 03, 04, but I've still stayed in music and been able to actually do a lot with that over the years. So that's been great. But but yeah, the Judy School was fantastic. Just seeing these kids love every day, love life, love going to school. It was really, really neat experience. When you get into these things, we're talking about funding, and right now there's 20 bills, I think, that were filed at the state in Jeff City at the beginning of session, the legislative session. I want to say it was 20 that dealt with school choice on some level. So obviously it's coming, it's happening. We were asked, not tonight, but we were asked, or I was asked previously, how do you feel about school choice programs? Do you think it's necessary? Do you think they should be? And I said, I mean, regardless of what I think about them, they're happening. We need to figure out what we're going to do about them. And so, but I will say that right now, just the bills that I've read up on, they don't seem to have a very holistic approach. Let's put it that way. I think that Springfield has a really unique situation in that we are kind of a microcosm in such a small area. I mean, you'd expect the kind of socioeconomic differences that we have here, the industrial differences that we have here in a place like Kansas City or St. Louis, but we have a very small Springfield. Last I knew was about 10 by 10 square miles ish, something like that. We're a pretty small city. And it's really like a rural urban metro area. It's very unique in that. And so what we're talking about is a scenario that encompasses a whole lot of different people, a whole lot of different students. And I think that we need to be reaching out and trying to figure this out, and doing it again in a more holistic approach. And that means collaborating with the legislature, because they're moving, they're making moves. And if Springfield schools don't get behind that, or really in front of that, I think we're in trouble. You know what's happening right now on the national level with the Department of Education downsizing. I'll use a judicious term, downsizing, or being dismantled altogether. That's going to cause a lot of very, very unique challenges. Now, with challenge comes innovation, right? And so I think that we have a lot to offer in Springfield schools. I know that the Fueled by Launch program has been an absolute success since 2012. I've actually talked to teachers who are teachers at Launch, and they love their jobs, absolutely love it. I know that giving students as many opportunities to do as many different things as possible is probably better than a few narrow areas. I would also agree with the panelists that collaboration is really key, and SPS does a really, really great job of collaborating. I don't see any concerns about that, in the coming years. I actually graduated from Reed Spring School. I went to Disney for 3 years, and I graduated from Reed Spring. And while I was there, Missouri, or the University of Missouri, partnered with us, and they built a little extension onto our school, and they had a whole program that you could operate right out of the school. So it was right there on campus. It was phenomenal. Now, we don't necessarily have that option with some of our buildings. So how are we going to do that? I think that again, with challenge comes innovation. I think we really have a great opportunity here with choice. It is coming. How are we going to budget for it? Well, I mean, right now we're trying to keep teachers, so that's a really great question. But as someone up here was saying, I think it was Gail, public and private partnership, or Sarah, public and private partnerships are key, absolutely key. And so, I mean, as an aviation tech, we've got a booming aviation industry here. I didn't even know until I actually got into it. But there's all kinds of opportunities in aviation, and for these companies to help partner with the schools. There's so many different things that we can do. So I think I answered the question, and I hope I did it well.
We're going to have time probably for just one more pass through, so I will ask you to try to keep your comments to a couple minutes on this big question, really. When we conceived the idea of the series that Joe and Shannon produced, it basically revolved around the demographic report that said 1 out of 4 children in school-age children in Springfield were not attending a Springfield public school. That surprised me. And there are public policy implications. Obviously, fewer students translates to fewer dollars from the state, also risks boundary changes, risks the need for even closing schools, as the district has done recently. So I'm going to pass through the panel in the same order again. So Sarah, you'll be up first. The basic question is, does it concern you that 25% of children in Springfield are outside the public system? And what, if anything, should the district be doing to address it? And you've got a couple of minutes so that we can finish in time.
I told David he should have given us timers. We're probably chattier than the other panelists. But, I want to start by saying that, families should be able to make the right decisions for their kids. And I think we saw that in the previous group of panelists. Those are passionate parents who had kids who they advocated for, and they made the decisions for their families. And, I inherently believe that as a parent, you make those decisions for your kids. We heard their stories, right? I've heard similar stories of kids who were in a local private school and struggled with reading for the first 3 years of their career, moved to Springfield Public Schools, and within a few months were diagnosed with dyslexia. So those stories go both ways. And I think engaged parents make a huge difference for our community and for our students. So I'll start with that. And I think the supposition of the question, I was surprised to hear that, 1 in 4 students is, schooling outside of SPS. And I think the logical step, or maybe what people think is it because our public schools aren't working? I don't know. Is that why? What's the reasoning? And so I've thought about this a lot. I've read about this a lot. And one of the things that I want to point out that research does show us, that one of the things that, this was research from the University of Virginia. They tracked over 1,300 kids from really birth through high school and looked at their educational experiences. These were kids that were in public schools. These were kids that were in private schools. And they got to 9th grade and they were tracking educational outcome. And kids that were in private schools, if you looked at no other factors, were performing much better than kids in public schools. Almost 15 points on, standardized testing. But when you added family income into the equation, the differences disappeared. You could add any other factor, and a kid from a high income family performed the same in a public school and a private school, and a kid from a low income family performed the same in a public school and a private school. So I think we have to keep that in mind. SPS serves families of all economic backgrounds. Over 50% of our schools our kids in SPS are on free and reduced lunches. So we have to keep that in mind. And I think as a community, we have to make sure that those kids, regardless of their family's income, are receiving great education. And so I have been, as a community member, as a parent, as someone who's advocated for public education, as the child of 2 public school educators, I have been encouraged by the progress that SPS is making. We are increasing educational attainment. I heard somebody say it's not like turning the Titanic, it's like turning the Titanic, not like turning a kayak, right? So test scores, academic achievement doesn't change overnight, but as a community, as a school district, we need to focus on creating the best public schools for our kids so that all of our kids can succeed.
Okay, thank you. She made me pull the clock on her. So Kelly.
All right. So again, probably a lot to say, so I'll try to hit this real quick. Since I got a little bit of pushback on the Alliance for Healthcare, I will touch on a couple of things just to clear that up. But so in saying that it would cost our district $1 million, I was speaking to what we were told when we had to make that vote. And that's the information that we had. And yeah, it probably costs less right now, but it's also in its first year. And I think the information that they told us is it would be anticipated that it would cost about $1 million if they got the participation that they expected by 2026. And they're still growing through that. And I think you answered that question by saying there's growth, or you hope that there's growth. So yes, it'll be more than that. And then also to speak to the idea of filling the employment needs of the local hospital systems. As a board member, it's my personal approach and point of view that I need to be responsible for the school district, and I need to make decisions that are best for the school district and the mission of the school district. And these things do come to you quite often as a board member of making a decision. Sometimes of what's posed, it's what's maybe a good thing for the community or something else. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes that doesn't align with the mission of the district. And in this case, it did not. In this case, from my point of view, it did not align with the mission of the district because of the cost and because of the time and because at that time we could not afford that cost. So whereas I understood that it may be a good thing for the hospitals or maybe the community at large, it wasn't what was in the best interest of the district. And I think if we do what's in the best interest of the district, we are then doing what we can for the best interest of the community. Because if the public school system is as strong as
So you
it
got
can
about
be,
a minute left to
Okay.
answer that
so
question.
if the public school system
Yeah.
is as strong as it can be,
Yeah.
then we are completing our mission of improving the community at large. And that's the best way we can affect it. So
So should we be concerned about 25% of the kids going outside the
Yeah,
district?
I think yes, and I think we are, but I think competition is a good thing. I mean, like a rising tide raises all boats, and I think that we certainly don't want to lose students. We've lost about 1,500 students since 2019, and we have not gained those back. And I think that really has gotten the attention of the district, of the school board, and of the administration. I mean, funding is tied to attendance, and we do not want to lose students. So when there's more opportunities and more competition in the area, it causes us to step up our game. And I think to some degree we've begun that. I mean, we have 2 consecutive years of academic achievement growth for the first time in 20 years. So I think it has caused that effect, and I think SPS will step it up.
Okay, thank you. Gail?
Well, I think maybe we can phrase this in a more positive light, that 75% of the students in Springfield are going to our public schools, that 3 out of 4 of our students are going to our public schools. So maybe, turn that frown upside down, I think. So anyway, and from some things that I've read, I mean, the Springfield Public Schools is bouncing back after COVID. 25,000 students, more than 25,000 students are enrolled in the public schools this year. We had a 95% graduation rate last year in 2024, 1,800 plus graduates in Springfield, collected over $25 million in scholarships. So things are bouncing back. They're moving in the right directions. As Sarah said, we've had 3 consecutive years of academic improvements. So, things are moving in the right direction. And, it doesn't matter if you go to public school or private school or you homeschool. The mission is the same. You want to educate your child. You want to educate the student. So, so we all need to work together. And I think that again, whether you go to private school, public school, or homeschool, we all have an interest in having a thriving public school, because that will help us have a better community. So I think things are on the up at Springfield, and so thank you.
All right, Dave, you get to wrap us up.
All right. Okay. So one of my children has Asperger's, and he's a special kid in a lot of ways. He's phenomenal in music. He really loves math. I think I want to echo what Gail said. As parents, we want the best for our kids. I don't think that's a surprise to anybody. I mean, I didn't really understand I thought I knew what being a parent was like until I became a parent. And then I realized I had no idea what I was doing. And over the years, as I've learned what to do and how to do it, I've realized that man, the future of my kids is the most exciting part of my future. Seeing them grow up and seeing what they can do and seeing their potential is it's just amazing. And I have 4 boys, and they're all 4 different, which makes it very difficult, but fun, totally fun. But we do as parents, we want our kids to have as many choices and many options as possible. Of course, funding again is the issue. 25% of our students are outside the public school program. I think that again, it presents some unique challenges. Challenge breeds innovation. Necessity is the mother of invention. We can say these things all day, but they're all true. I don't know that 25% of our students being outside the public school system is necessarily a bad thing. I don't think that's the point of the question. but I think that yeah, it presents you some unique challenges. So again, I will reiterate, choice is happening. We absolutely need to be addressing this as a board to the state. We need to be getting in front of this because they're moving, and I want to make sure as a school board member for Springfield Schools, I want to make sure that the state legislature knows that they need to be doing this in a holistic way that understands that funding is impacted for public schools when you increase choice programs. And I'm in favor of choice, but at the same time, we need to be paying attention to that for sure. So I will say I have a lot of really good contacts up in Jeff City, and I will do my darndest to continue building bridges and make those connections. So that's my cue.
Thank you. Let's give a round of applause to the candidates here. You know, win or lose, it's a big effort to run for a public office like school board. Obviously, they expose themselves to a lot of favorable and unfavorable press and comments along the way. So I just want to acknowledge, I appreciate all of you for being willing to put yourself out there. I promised we'd finish at 5:30. I think I'm about 90 seconds over, but I really appreciate you all coming here today. Certainly, I and others will probably be happy to stick around afterward. We want to again thank the E-Factory for hosting us today. We really appreciate our partnership with them, and I appreciate the number of members of the Daily Citizen staff are here and would be happy to chat afterward as well. So thank you all for coming, and thanks for supporting the Daily
I'll
Citizen.
stick around for a little bit too, just individually if anyone has any questions.